I'm Richard Lewis reporting for HMTV, and I'm here at the launch of Alienware's smallest PC to date. It's the x51. Basically what it's aiming to do is combine the strength of a huge desktop in a really tiny, compact PC, so it can be used in the living room or whatever, and we're going to put it through its paces and have a look and see if it stands up. And as well as that, there's going to be some other entertainment. We've got the Team Dignitas guys in here who are going to be doing their usual game competitions and whatnot, so I'm going to take you inside for a look at it and to teach you a bit more about what Alienware are doing.
Okay, I think the video kind of undid some of the reveal on this. So x51, we started talking about this a couple of weeks before launch. One of the big surprises for people was the form factor. So historically, Alienware desktops have been, you know, not the most dainty, petite of devices. They've been big, hulking beasts. x51, as we see here, is a diminutive version. It's 1/7 the size of the previous Aurora product. In terms of dimensions, and I won't go through the actual numbers on this, but if you look at the physical dimensions, just slightly bigger than an Xbox 360. Tapers off from the front to the back, so slightly taller at the front. It's horizontal and vertical orientation, so it will slide in under a TV if that's what you want to do, and have it in your sitting room as a media hub and games device, or it'll just stand up as you see it here. I guess the biggest question that we got, or the most common question was, you know, where's the performance? So the form factor is small, is the performance small to go with that? And of course, with the Alienware brand, we have a reputation to uphold in terms of performance. So a couple of things to talk about here. We're using Battlefield 3. It's the most current DX11 AAA title out there. All of our benchmarks are at 1080p, so 1920 by 1080. High detail levels across the board, 4x anti-aliasing, anisotropic filtering turned on. Basically everything cranked up high. And the reason why we did that was because many other machines are sold and marketed on a frame rate number. They'll go, oh, you know, 80 frames a second in Battlefield. And there'll be a little asterisk, and somewhere down the bottom it'll tell you it's at 1024 by 768 and it's got low texture and da da da. So the fact that we're taking this, you know, it's a high setting. Our minimum configuration of this device, so Core i3 with the GT540 class graphics, the minimum frame rate achieved is 27 frames a second. Now, general agreement on this, anything above 25 frames a second is perceived as fluid motion, it's playable, it's good enough. That's at a minimum, max in the mid-40s at an average of 35. So at our minimum configuration, this is playable beyond any other device in the class. At the maximum configuration, we're running from 47 to 77 frames a second. Now, obviously, you have an option here. I mean, these are all set very high. You don't have to do this. You can crank these things down if you want the frame rate up high. So if you talk to any of the Team Dignitas guys who are here, they'll tell you it's all about frame rate. Knock all this down, get these frame rates up, double, triple these. You can't have a high enough frame rate. You want fluid motion because they can perceive that motion. It's one of those interesting things that's researched. So subliminal advertising works on less than 30 frames a second. That says you can't actually, your brain doesn't register less than 30 frames, yet any gamer will tell you there's a perceptible difference between 40 and 50 frames a second. The other thing, by the way, just on the performance, we're talking solely about gaming benchmark data here. The reality is gaming stresses hardware in a way that very few other applications do. So this PC, just by virtue of the fact that it's a great gaming machine, also means it's a great desktop machine. In gaming, you're kind of chasing the weakest link in the system. So you need to keep the graphics card fed, so you need fast memory, fast processor, fast hard drive, and it'll always find the weakest link. There's virtually nothing you control with this machine in terms of home PC usage, video editing, anything like that this won't be able to handle. So as well as being a great gaming machine, it's just a great general purpose PC as well. A couple of the unique features then, moving on to the next slide. You're familiar with Alien Fusion. I call this idea, this is the power management software that comes with all Alienware systems. On some of the high-end systems, it controls things like active venting. You can set the thermal levels for the fans, the limits on overclocking and stuff like that. I raise it here because a lot of people have talked about using this as a media streaming device or a digital hub in the home. One of the uses in that scenario is audio playback. For audio playback, what you want is a very silent system. So obviously when you're gaming, the fans are on, there's a small bit of noise, that's to be expected, but you either got headphones on or speakers, you can't hear it. But if you're using it as an audio streaming device, you want it to be near silent. So what you do is you go into Alien Fusion, you turn down the maximum settings for the processor. That will ensure the fans don't kick in, and basically the machine will run pretty near silently, if that's where your usage is. And then when you go into gaming mode, it'll fire up and run at full speed. Alien Adrenaline is a new piece of software. I won't go into a huge amount of detail about this. If you want to find out more about it, we can discuss it over a beer. But basically, it allows you to configure the environment on the PC on a per application basis. So, for example, if I want to run my game, well, I want to make sure that I want to set my Alien effects lighting one way. I want to launch my voice morphing software so I sound like Godzilla when I'm talking to other people online. I want to shut down any other open applications because, God forbid, Outlook would start replicating a mailbox in the middle of something more important like Battlefield. Basically, anything you want to do like that. On the next slide, then, I think we're talking about Alien effects lighting. So you'd be familiar with this, I think, from the other Alienware systems that we have. So there are multiple lighting zones on it, all configurable independently. And then the other thing that we haven't got on here, that you will see on some of the demo systems, we also have matching peripherals to go with this. So there's a Tactics keyboard and mouse that also link into the lighting. One of the really cool things that we started promoting heavily at the back end of last year was an API for Alien effects lighting. So that's a programming interface for developers, so they can actually access and change the lighting in-game. So that opens up possibilities where, if you get killed, everything turns blood red, all the lights, the keyboard, or if you go into a forest, everything turns green. If you've got a cop's chasing you, there's a siren, you can make the keyboard flash blue lights. You can do anything you want in the game to synchronize the lighting to what's going on in the game. So it's quite a nice feature, and obviously unique to Alienware. The next slide then, just talking about the target audience for this. So I think Hendrik sort of touched on this. One of the ways we view the market, we don't view it as buckets, we view it as spectrum. So there isn't a typical way to describe a gamer. Classical names like all these, casual, mid-core, hardcore, pro, enthusiast, there's a lot of different names out there. The reality is nobody fits significantly into any of these in any easy way. So I'll take myself as an example. I'm married with 3 kids. I get about 2 or 3 hours a week. So by anybody's definition, I'd be down here as a casual gamer. However, I've been working in the graphics industry for 17 years, and I have no interest in playing games with low resolution, low texture detail. In terms of my hardware purchase, I'm up here. And also what happens is over time, you sort of move along the scale. So before I was married, I could put whatever hardware I wanted in my sitting room. I was putting big high-end rigs in. Now I'm looking for something that can be accommodated in the sitting room. And so people move across these spectrums, and historically we've always played right up at the height. So the Aurora, Area 51 systems were very, very targeted. But we've always known there was this other market, where the mainstream gaming market is. And so we wanted to round out the portfolio, and hence x51. In fact, what's interesting about this in terms of where people sit on this, it's usually dictated by time. So the more time you have, and the more time you dedicate to gaming, the closer you end up at this end. And the less time you have, the more likely you're to be classified down here. Which is kind of amusing because there's 2 groups of people that have a lot of time to play games. There's young people and there's retired people. And at the moment in our demographic, it's interesting actually, the demographic of the gaming market is aging. So the more and more people in their 30s, 40s and 50s are gaming. And that's probably because, I'm probably of the first generation of people that grew up with games. So when I was a kid, it was down the arcade, putting money into the coin ops, so Sega Outrun, Karate Champ, Double Dragon, and all those ancient games, I don't have the time anymore, but at some point in the future, when I'm older and I'm retired, hopefully I will. So we might actually, instead of the pro game league getting sort of overrun by all these young people in Team Dignitas, there might be a seniors league like we get in the golf, like a seniors tour for gaming, which would be a bit of fun. So as I say, x51, we're trying to target the rest of the audience that maybe that the high-end stuff hasn't directly addressed in the past. So that is the short and sweet presentation. We didn't want to spend a lot of time talking about it. This is basically to summarize it in a nutshell. It is a small form factor PC with big PC performance. Very simple message, very clear, very true to our brand heritage. We deliver the best performance we can within the form factor. We've done it in the laptops ranging, from the portable 14 all the way up to the 18-inch. And so with the desktop now, we're just rounding out the portfolio, delivering something for everyone. With that, I would like to hand you back to Asim, who will guide you through the festivities for the evening. Thank you.
I haven't got a clue. I haven't played a Street Fighter game in about, I don't know, 10 years. So it should be interesting. Are you good at it? No. You've got nothing to worry about, brother. Nothing to worry about at all.
And he's looking quite confident. Looks like he's played this before. Looking unsure, looking down at his control pad. It's a nice light jab to open up the early damage, but Ken replies with a wheezing kick to the face. Now light punches coming in everywhere. Nice damage from Guile. Really close to the captain, using that air, using the low punches, getting some nice ground, nice combos. Guile taking a convincing lead, straight up from the start now. But Ken getting some nice damage back. And he just, nice Shoryuken. Really doing it. Another one. It's good. You've got to use the block button. Guile now in dire straits, looking to win this round, and now it's flipped completely the opposite way, and Ken takes it with a kick to the head. Guile must be feeling pretty bad about that right now.
Yes.
Some nice Shoryuken spam, I should say. Throwing them out. Very, very nice from Ken. And another one right there. Dante looks convinced. I don't think he's in a match up with this player, this Ken player, and there it is again. Shoryuken coming out. Guile taking some more damage. Ken looking very, very strong. Gets a nice focus stun. And I think this is going to end here unless Gonza can pull off a miracle, which he can't. Mateus takes it with a nice gameplay. Spam those Shoryukens, you can't lose.
Any final words, Richard?
Yeah, I don't like Street Fighter 4 very much. PC games are for winners, console gamers are for losers. Okay, I'm here now with Owen, who's the product manager for Alienware in Europe, and he's going to tell us a little bit about the X51 and how they've managed to make it quite as good as they have. It's a case of good things coming in small packages. How have you managed to pack so much into it, and what's the secret behind it being so powerful despite it being really, really tiny?
Yeah, so we've invested a lot of time in trying to understand where the form factor was going to be optimized for the gaming performance that we wanted to deliver. What we discovered was a lot of small form factor PCs tend to use cut down graphics card, half-height graphics cards, maybe mobile processors. When we looked at all those options, they just didn't deliver the performance that we needed. So what we concluded was we needed full desktop components in a small form factor. So it's a double width graphics card, desktop graphics card standard processor, standard hard drive, everything in there exactly as you would find, just scrunched down into a teeny tiny chassis. What happens when you do that, of course, is you start creating problems for yourself. And you say, well, if it's so easy, if you just take all the desktop ones and put them in, why doesn't everybody do it? And the answer,
how have you managed to do the heat situation? Because I'm guessing you could cook with it, could you?
Yeah, well, this is the secret sauce the Alienware boys came up with. So yeah, if you just take all those desktop parts, put them in a small form factor, what you've actually done is beat yourself a small pizza oven. It will just heat and heat and heat, and the components will fall over. So airflow, heat management is the key. So what you'll see on this system, when you look at the chassis, there's air intake at the bottom. It flows through the center of the chassis and gets dissipated at the top. So it heats every single component inside of it, or cools even every single component inside of it evenly. Then the graphics card is separately cooled out the back. But the really cool thing on it is it's all controllable. So we have Alien Fusion software. We can turn the fans on and off. So if you want to use it for listening to audio, for example, you want it to be quiet, you can throttle everything back down, the fans cut out, it's almost completely silent. Then when you want to play games, you crank it back up, you have maximum cooling, run all the hardware at 100% performance. So it's an engineering challenge, it's been an interesting challenge, and the proof is in the pudding. We've delivered desktop performance that you would only see in a mid-tower or full-tower system in a form factor that's 1/7 the size of our previous desktop model.
So I'm here with professional gamer and all-round gaming legend David Zacubus-Treese. He's taking a few minutes away from doing the commentary for the Street Fighter 4 tournament, which I know has been very enjoyable. How's your throat holding up? It's okay?
Yeah, it's fine. No illnesses either. I'm looking in good shape, to be fair.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. I just wish that people knew how to play the game.
You can't teach them all how to be pros, mate. You gotta take it easy. But what I want to ask you about is, obviously we're here for the X51. It's a great piece of kit from what I can see. I've had my hands on it and we've had a little dabble with it. Somebody like yourself can probably be a bit more informed than me. What do you make of it in terms of what it brings to gaming, both competitive and casual?
Well, it's aimed more as a casual market. You know, it's not the high-end core gamers that that benchmark every 5 months to see how the system's holding up. So it's kind of like, in my opinion, it's like the introduction PC. It's like kind of an Apple product, but for PC gaming. You know, they want to introduce this whole new market. They want to bring in console players, you know, that ask after a little bit more. Yeah. And, you know, the performance of it is actually pretty good. It is mid-spec, you know, it's not going to crunch some numbers, but to be honest, the way the software is working these days, not a lot of games will strain this machine at the moment, you know, because they're demanded from the consoles that are out today. So nobody's pushing what's out there right now because they've reached the limits of the consoles, you know, the Xbox, the PlayStation 3. So PCs are under that sort of same alignment because, well, there's no point to push it to the next level, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So it's a great sort of mid-skill PC, and to be fair, it runs pretty much 90% of games pretty well. If you just lower, like for me, every setting goes down, you know. Yeah, like every pro player, like bam, bam. I don't care about how the graphics look. As long as it's playable and FPS, that's perfect for me.
Who do you think it's kind of aimed at then? You know, Owen was talking earlier about how he sees it kind of perhaps being people that need space or family orientated guys. Do you agree with that, or can you find other kind of uses for it in your mind?
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and for me, I see other options how I would use it. Obviously I'd use it as a spare like streaming machine, you know. Yeah. I would have my main gaming rig and then maybe I'd put a Blackmagic Pro in there or something, and you know, sort of have that being the streaming machine, not taking up the number crunching that my big gaming rig would do, and then I'll be able to stream perfectly with no FPS loss on my other rig. But that's how I would use it at the moment. Obviously I've been a gamer for a long time, so I've got a lot of cool free gear, so but I love it because it just gives you so many more options, you know. As you can put it under your TV, you can use it as a multimedia machine. You're not limited by this because of the size it is as well, and if you want to go to a LAN party, you can do it because it's powerful enough.
So a bit of everything then. In terms of portability as well, because it looks, I mean, it's so small and so light. Again, I can't stress that enough. It is just so easy to pick it up. I mean, kind of thing that's ideal for maybe a LAN party. You can just take it around your friend's house in a rucksack, you know.
Yep, it just weighs about the same as an Xbox, and it looks prettier.